to part 2 of the ultimate guide to returning to work after your career break. In part 1, we covered mindset, which you can check out up here. And today we're going to get clear on what it is you want and need from your next position. And if you would like the free workbook that accompanies the entire series and includes exercises and so much more, then you can grab it for free below. Hi, I'm Laura, and I'm here to take your job search from stressful to successful. So let's get started. Welcome to Module 2, where we're going to get clear on what it is that you want and need from your next position. Now, the majority of the clients that I work with are in their 30s and 40s. And a common sentiment that I hear is, I thought I'd have it figured out by now. I thought that I would know what it is I want from my career. And why does everybody else seem to have it figured out, but I don't? Well, here's a secret. Most of us are still figuring it out. There's this myth that there's some magical age and that once we reach it, we'll have this clarity. In reality, we are learning and growing every single day. And that's why it is so important for you to take stock of who you are now and where you want to go. Because career breaks change you. Whether you've stepped away from the paid workforce to become a parent or a caregiver or travel the world, all of those experiences give you a fresh perspective. You've developed new skills and new abilities. It's okay to say where I was is not where I want to go back to, but it's equally as important to figure out where it is that you do want to go. And that's why we are going to focus on determining what your current wants and needs are, because being clear on this is going to make the rest of the job search process way smoother and give you a lot less headache. When you get clear on what it is that you want, you will stop blindly applying to positions, just hoping that something will stick. Rather, you are going to have a targeted approach to the positions that you are truly interested in. So yes, you will most likely be applying to less positions, but they're going to be positions that you are truly excited about. And when you're clear, you're going to have a clear pitch, which is vital when it comes to networking and connecting. You're also going to have consistent messaging. Now, I've seen it time and again where somebody's LinkedIn profile will contradict what their cover letter says, which is slightly different than what their resume is stating, which is even more different than what they're telling me. And I'm like, whoa, let's get everything on the same page. And that comes from being clear. And then ultimately, once you're clear, you're going to have a lot more confidence. As with anything in life, if you're unsure, you're going to feel unsure, and that's going to come across to others. So how do you get career clarity? Well, I'm going to run you through some questions that I have my clients answer. And the first one is, what have you enjoyed or not enjoyed in your past positions? And next is, what are you known for? Like, what do people come to you specifically for? Also, what are your strengths? And then also, what do other people say your strengths are? Sometimes we're not even able to see our own strengths, but when you ask other people, they can tell you and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that about myself. And next is, when do you just get lost in the zone? You know, that time where you're working for 2-3 hours, but it feels like 10 minutes? What is the thing that does that for you? And also, what do you gravitate to, both in your professional and your personal life? I would suggest taking some time, grabbing an old-fashioned pen and pencil, and writing down the answers to these questions. When you do so, you're able to see things that you might not have seen before simply because you are writing them down and taking the time to truly reflect on them. And also, a quick tip, if you are on LinkedIn, I always recommend that you go down to the recommendations section and look at what people have said about you. It's a very eye-opening experience, and it's one that has brought about clarity to several of my clients. So I challenge you to go ahead and do that. Now, let's focus on specifically what you need from a role. And I like to use the CCCR method, and this stands for control, compensation, culture, and role. The first C is for control. And this is the where, the when, and the how of the position. Where do you want to work from? Do you want it to be fully in an office? Do you need a hybrid position, or do you need it to be fully remote? And if you do go into the office, how long are you willing to sit in traffic for? And also think about, when do you want to work? Are you needing to pick up your kiddo from school and you need to clock out at a certain time? But if you do clock out, can you jump back on at a later point? Are you looking for full-time? Are you looking for part-time? And think about the how. The how is like the level of autonomy that you're gonna have. Are you like, hey, let me just do my thing, get my work done, or do you need a bit more hand-holding? Do you wanna work in a siloed position, or are you more of that team environment? The second C stands for compensation. And a lot of people just associate compensation with their salary, but it's actually so much more. Of course, you should have a number in your head, but also see how the other benefits impact it. I know somebody who actually took a lot lower salary, but had a super high bonus potential. So they felt as though it was worth it to take that lower salary because they had the potential to make even more money. But for you, you might say, hey, I just need a steady paycheck every couple of weeks, and I don't need that variability. And don't forget about health insurance, especially if you're in the US where your health insurance is tied to your employment. And this is where I see a lot of people get burned. They see that the company offers health insurance and they're like, great, I'm covered. And then they get their first paycheck and they're like, whoa, that is a huge deduction. So get those numbers before you ever agree to take on a role, because when you have the full scope, you can make an informed decision. And then also think about retirement. I know we're getting closer and closer to that age. So something you really want to think about, if the employer offers matching, or maybe they even have that elusive pension plan. So make sure that you're taking in the entire scope of the benefits package, including PTO, including tuition reimbursement, health club, paid memberships. All of this is going to impact a dollar amount in some way. And the third C is for culture. Now, culture is the shared beliefs and values of an organization, but it doesn't just stop at the company level. It can be found at the departmental level along with the team level. Now, I have worked at a fast-paced law firm, and the point of the law firm was to make money. And it was go, 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 grind, grind, grind. Now, I left that position after 6 months because it was not a culture that was a fit for me. And the position I held after was at a nonprofit where we helped the elderly community. It was a totally different change of pace, as well as what I was doing was something that I felt good about. It wasn't for the money, it was to help people. Now, there is no right or wrong for you in what you're looking for from a culture. There is a time and place in everybody's life where they might want the more fast-paced, revenue-driven opportunities, and there's other times where you might need a slower, we are family, we work together for the greater good type of culture. And that's okay. It's just you being clear on that. And even when a company has a certain culture, it's important to make sure it's also a fit on the departmental level and the team level. When I worked at Expedia, I worked on a team where the culture was happy hours, outside of work activities, and they were in a season of their life where that was doable. For me, it really wasn't. And so I didn't really fit into that culture. They were a great group, but the culture was something that just didn't align with where I was at. And so that really wasn't a fit at a team level. But also think about the departmental culture. And this is a story about Netflix, which, fun fact, Netflix was the first company, recognized first company to have unlimited PTO. The company at a high level said, we are doing unlimited PTO. And a year into the project, they realized that there were certain departments whose employees weren't really taking PTO. And they're like, but why is this? And it turned out that the department heads were telling their employees, I know this is company policy that you can take unlimited PTO, but that's not how we do it here in this department. And so that's what I mean about making sure it's a fit on all three levels. And once you're clear on what you want your culture to be, that is going to lead to you being able to ask strategic questions in interviews to get to the heart of the culture at all of the levels. And finally, we have R, which stands for role. Now, this is the nitty-gritty of what you will be doing. Think of the day-to-day tasks that you're going to be taking on. Are you wanting to use certain skills and abilities that you have in that role? And also, think about the purpose of the position. As I mentioned before, I worked for a nonprofit and I've also worked for some very for-profit companies. And there was a definite difference between what the purpose of my job was in each of those roles. In the nonprofit roles, I saw my direct impact in the community. When I was working for the for-profit positions, not so much. Also, does the position align with who you are? I was once offered a position at a payday loan company. The pay was more, the office was fancy, there was all these perks, but I felt icky about it. And I didn't want to feel that in my role. So make sure the purpose aligns with you as well. And next, think about growth potential. There are seasons in our lives where we want to get promoted, where we want to just keep moving on up. And if you do want that, then it's important to find companies that you have the ability to do so. And then there are also other seasons of our lives where we're just like, I'm okay with staying where I'm at. If an opportunity comes up, that's great. If not, that's not a big deal to me. Just be honest with yourself. As you work through these different components of a position, I want you to create a list of your must-haves and your nice-to-haves. And I want you to be very honest with yourself. In the must-have category, if a job does not meet those requirements, then you're not even going to apply. I know, I can hear you now, but what if? But you know what? Here's the thing. You're either going to have to make the decision now or you're going to have to make the decision down the line. And too often I see people who think, maybe I could make this work. And then it comes down to it and they're offered the job and it's not sitting well with them, but it is a job offer. So maybe they'll just see how it goes. And at no point are they actually excited about it. And in fact, there might be a little bit of dread. So I just say, avoid that whole thing and get clear and honest with yourself now. And use this as a guide as you go about your job search journey. If you see a position and you realize it's not hitting those non-negotiables for you, then don't even waste your time. Here are a few more things to keep in mind. Rather than just focus on what you want out of your job, I want you to focus on what a fulfilling life looks like for you a year from now, 5 years from now. And I want you to think of how a job supports that life. And next, I want you to let go of the sunk cost fallacy. And this comes in a lot because I hear clients say, but I already worked in this field for 15 years. It just makes sense. I've already spent so much time in this area. Or I went to school for this. I don't want to feel like I wasted my time or my money. Here's the thing. You can't do anything about the past. You've made those decisions, but what you do have in your control is your future. And I want you to be happy in that future. So let go of that voice in your head that says it would be easier to just go back, or it would make just sense to do that because you've already spent the time and the money. Don't let your past determine your future. And next is just take the time to get clear before you start your job search. And I know I said this before, but I do want to let you know this is going to take some time and some reflection. And for some people, it is a journey unto itself. I have a client I'm working with who this process has gone on for a lot longer than she has thought. But at the same time, she has found so many different areas of interest that she had forgotten about. And it's been a joy for her to discover and to learn. And you owe that to yourself, to find those things that you might have just put to the side and say, maybe this is the time for me to pursue those now. And then finally, just be honest with yourself. I don't want you to go through this process and then you feel as though, well, I forced it because it just was easier and it took less time. Realize that this is going to take some time and that ultimately you're the only one that you have to be accountable to when you do take that job. And that's why it is so important for you to be frank and honest with yourself. And here is my action item for you. I want you to think about the 4 components of a job: the control, the compensation, culture, and role. And I want you to come up with one non-negotiable for each of those areas. All right, I will see you over in module 3.